Dhamaka is one of the most popular and highly regarded Indian restaurants in New York City. Reservations for Dhamaka after the restaurant first opened were some of the most sought after in Manhattan. Today, the restaurant serves bold and unapologetic provincial Indian cuisine that left me absolutely stuffed and immensely satisfied. It's a beautiful day today here in New York City. Right now I'm along the Hudson River, just relaxing and enjoying the gorgeous weather, but I'd like to talk about a restaurant I went to last week. I went to one of the most popular and well-regarded Indian restaurants in New York City. I am talking about Dhamaka. The establishment comes from one of the hottest restaurant groups in NYC, Unapologetic Foods. They've given the city places like Adda and the Michelin-starred restaurant Semma. I've been to Semma before and loved it. That is without question one of the best Indian restaurants in New York City. The food there, it was so good. Although there are a number of people out there that feel that Dhamaka is superior to Semma. As a result, I've been meaning to visit Dhamaka for the longest time. But when it opened, and even in the year or two after it opened, it remained one of the hardest places to get a reservation in New York City. Thankfully these days, it's much easier. However, I was a bit intimidated to eat at Dhamaka because when I finished my meal at Semma, I was so full and my stomach was so filled with spice that I felt like I was going to internally combust, and my run the next day wasn't fun. But I don't limp out when it comes to food, so I made a reservation at Dhamaka and enjoyed one hell of a fine meal. And with that being said, this was my dinner at Dhamaka. Dhamaka is located on the Lower East Side of New York City. It's housed within the Essex Market and it opened in 2021. The restaurant is the product of chef and partner Chintan Pandya and restaurateur Rani Mazumdar, who are responsible for some of the most revered Indian restaurants in New York City, such as Adda and the Michelin-starred Semma. Immediately after opening, Dhamaka was a hit, garnering rave reviews and accolades from numerous sources and publications. The Michelin Guide even awarded Dhamaka a Bib Gourmand in 2022, which it has maintained to this day. Needless to say, I was excited. I arrived to the restaurant for my reservation right when it opened at 5 p.m. on a Thursday night. Inside, Dhamaka is filled with colorful decorations and it seems reasonably spacious, but the restaurant still has a feel of being sandwiched into the Essex Market and doesn't have the sort of character and charm of a standalone restaurant. Despite this, the atmosphere of Dhamaka isn't bad. Plus, I was there first and foremost for the food. And speaking of the food, I began to explore the menu. The courses at Dhamaka are basically organized from small to large, with the first group of dishes acting as sort of snacks. The next group features a number of small plates, and finally there are the main courses. Although there's a special section of the menu that features dishes of limited availability. There's even a course containing goat kidneys and testicles. Yeah, Dhamaka doesn't pull any punches. Overall, I think the restaurant has a great menu, and I was struggling deciding on what to get with such an array of intriguing options. Next, I turned my attention to the beverage list. Dhamaka features a number of cocktails along with a selection of mocktails that actually sounded just as good as the creations with alcohol. The restaurant also had a small wine list, but that evening I felt like a beer. Dhamaka, along with other unapologetic food establishments, feature an exclusive selection of beers made in collaboration with the New York City brewery Transmitter Brewing. I went with the Basmati Rice Premium Lager. That was a fine beer. It had good flavor and mouthfeel and proved to be a pleasant aid when I needed to cool my palate from the spicy foods that I would have later. Before I was presented with any of my courses, I was given cups of red onions and chutney. Soon enough, my first dish arrived, and it was one my server recommended. It was the Bangan Bharta, which consisted of grilled eggplant, onions, and green chili. In addition to the course, I also ordered a piece of paratha to pair with it. Before I was even able to take a bite of the Bangan Bharta, one of the other items I ordered arrived to my table. It was the Bori chicken cutlet, which contained chicken mince, green chili, and Amul cheese. Everything before me looked great, and I couldn't wait to dig in. I started by trying the Bangan Bharta. First, I took some of the eggplant mixture and added it to the paratha. The result was a fantastic, flavor-filled bite where the eggplant, onions, and chili boldly pronounced themselves. There was spice, and it wasn't a tame spice, but it was also nothing too dramatic, requiring a constant chugging of water. For me, I thought that it was just right. The paratha was also great and proved to be essential to the dish, although the pao buns probably would have worked just as well. The paratha was warm, fresh, flaky, and texturally on the mark. Next, I turned my attention to the bori chicken cutlet. Basically, it's a chicken cutlet stuffed with cheese. I even heard the course described as a sort of Indian take off of a Juicy Lucy. Frankly, it sounded too good not to order, and I was eager to give it a go. The chicken cutlet was interesting and frankly not what I expected, but it was good. Texturally, I thought I would get something crispy like the fried chicken that I'm used to. Instead, Dhamaka's chicken was soft and succulent. I also really appreciated its flavor, and the gooey cheese in the cutlet worked. In addition, I also found that the chicken went nicely with the chutney. While I was enjoying those two courses, I was treated to a very pleasant surprise.
Very, very tender. Awesome.
A server came to my table and brought me another dish. It turns out I was recognized from my YouTube channel and thus was very generously presented with more food. I was incredibly grateful for it. The dish I received was the Kashmiri gosht chop, which contained lamb loin, garam masala, and ghee. It looked delicious and also a little scary. It literally looked like meat resting on a plate of boiling lava. I was worried that it could be too spicy. Thankfully, that wasn't the case. The dish was perfect. Now, there was definitely spice, but it wasn't anything too dramatic. The lamb was absolutely fantastic. It was pounded very thin, resulting in an incredibly tender and flavorful cut of meat. The garam masala and ghee also imparted excellent flavors. To put it simply, I loved that dish. While I was enjoying my small feast, a server came to my table bearing another complimentary course. Once again, I was incredibly grateful for it. The dish was the paneer tikka, which consisted of house-made paneer, ajwain, and yogurt. Paneer is a type of fresh, non-melting, unaged, soft cheese. It's similar to cottage cheese or ricotta. I love cheese almost as much as I love meat, so I was hyped to try it. The paneer was amazing. Texturally, it was so soft, but combined with all the flavor-packed spices on the cheese, it equated to be a simple but amazing dish. No doubt about it, I was having a very filling dinner, and I think Dhamaka predicates their meals on sharing, but I was sharing with no one. Of course I finished everything, and then it was on to the dish that I was perhaps most excited about, the butter pepper garlic crab. The course was presented very nicely within the shell of a crab, and then it was poured over a portion of rice. The dish contained crab, amul butter, garlic, and crushed black pepper. That was a pretty generous portion of crab and frankly not much rice. However, the restaurant must have read my mind because I was generously given a side of basmati rice, which I added to the course. The crab was fantastic. It was perfectly cooked, but the butter, garlic, and pepper proved to be the ideal complements. Those elements helped make the dish rich and savory. Before I went to Dhamaka, I saw one of their posts on Instagram featuring Chef Neil detailing the course. It sounded so good, I knew that I had to order it. Without a doubt, the butter pepper garlic crab is a must order. With my stomach on the verge of bursting, I somehow managed to finish it. Finally, it was time for dessert. The menu only had a few options, but they sounded pretty good. However, I wasn't planning on getting anything, but once again, the restaurant was incredibly generous and provided me with a pistachio kulfi. Thank goodness it was on the smaller side. There was next to no room in my stomach. Kulfi is often described as Indian ice cream, and it generally has a denser texture. Dhamaka's kulfi had a nice pistachio flavor, but for me, the texture was just a bit too hard. Nevertheless, it was still an enjoyable treat. It was refreshing and it satisfied my sweet tooth. After finishing, it was time for the bill, which totaled to $101.25, but with my tip, I spent a bit over $135. First off, I'm incredibly lucky and grateful to have been comped a few courses. It was unnecessary but incredibly generous, and I truly appreciated it. The staff at Dhamaka was so nice, and I enjoyed talking to everyone I met there. I feel as though Dhamaka is unquestionably one of the best Indian restaurants in New York City. I've been wanting to go to the establishment since it opened, and I wasn't disappointed. I am so full. So I waddled over here to Tompkins Square Park. I am stuffed, but damn, that was so good. I really enjoyed that dinner. For me, Dhamaka certainly was worth the wait. That lived up to the hype. For me, my favorite dish, well, I think it's a tie between the crab and the lamb. Both were just so damn good. And I really appreciate just how bold and unique and original that menu is. It's not something that's giving in to local tastes. Like the name of the restaurant group, it is Unapologetic Food. Frankly, I don't know of any other restaurant in New York City that literally has a dish with testicles on it. I mean, that's a ballsy menu item. So how does Dhamaka compare to Semma? That's a tough question. For me, I think I like them equally. They're both fantastic restaurants. In conclusion, I had a great meal at Dhamaka. It's without a doubt one of the best Indian restaurants in New York City, and one that I will certainly return to. And now, I've got to waddle home, and I don't think I'm gonna eat for a couple days, but it was worth it. Dhamaka is amazing.